Welcome to Business Over Borders. I'm your host, Leo Tucker, and I'm joined here by a very special guest, Sam Ranieri, our CEO and founder here at Reach. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about FX today. I know that's your bread and butter, the thing you eat day and night.
For the most part, yes.
Let's talk a little bit about kind of your background in FX, how you got started. And
Sure, yeah. So this is going to age me. I'm about 25 years, almost 25 years in foreign exchange.
25 years.
Yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while. And foreign exchange touches a lot of part of the global market, from importers and exporters to e-commerce and banking, et cetera. So I cut my teeth actually early days in just helping importers and exporters in Canada with their sort of hedging requirements. And banks had products and solutions for them, but they were really focused on like enterprise level companies, and there was sort of a mid-market that was neglected, for lack of a better term, that needed some help and some guidance on how to navigate through currencies and reduce their risk, and even sometimes turn it into a profit center. So I spent a lot of time there, and then saw a pretty big opportunity in e-commerce where obviously there's a lot of cross-border sales happening, and foreign exchange is very prevalent in cross-border e-commerce. So I took my knowledge around hedging and some very great relationships that were built through my banking days, and built out a model to sort of support that.
we just covered a lot of terms. So we've talked about mid-market, we've talked about exposure, we've talked about risk. Let's talk about FX generally. What is FX? Why do businesses care? Paint us a landscape.
Well, before we even get into FX or foreign exchange, right? Like there's just the global currency, topic, which is, the currencies are priced differently against each other. We call them pairs in the currency world, right?
Pairs.
So you look at, obviously we're in North America, so the U.S. dollar is obviously one of the most prevalent currencies. So you're always comparing that pair, if you will. Now, more recently, the U.S. dollar is surging, right? Very, very strong U.S. dollar against more currencies.
Unfortunate for us Canadians, but it's great.
It does, exactly. The perfect segue into what I was going to explain is that if the U.S. dollar is high, no matter what you're buying, if it's coming from the U.S., it's going to be more expensive for a Canadian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes from everything from a magazine to oil and gas, right?
Yeah.
So everything that moves, every sort of thing that's involved in trade, if it's a stronger US dollar, if it's from the US, it's going to be more expensive to the other currency pair. Flip side of it is the US have much more stronger buying power, right? So you'll get a lot more Americans obviously shopping in Canada, the UK, Europe, right? So their dollar goes a lot further. So then you've got this sort of yin and yang thing happening, right?
Yeah.
So U.S. dollar stronger, maybe their exports or imports are a little bit lower, but they're stronger, so they're buying more, so their exports are increasing in sales. And that just goes for every currency pair, right? That goes for euro against the pounds. Australians are heavy in the marketplace, and wherever the Australian dollar lands. So that's more of kind of your global currency POV.
Right. So let's take it from the lens of a merchant, a store owner. Let's stick with e-commerce at the moment. Let's say you've got a Canadian merchant selling into Canada, probably not dealing with a whole lot of FX, but let's say they want to start selling into the US or into Euro or into the UK. What kind of things are they concerned with? And
yeah, so first off, there's kind of two areas that or two types of merchants in the world right now, right? And obviously there's more, but you know what I mean. There's a merchant that's just sort of saying, you know what, let's just use US as an example. I've got US dollars. I'm going to sell in US dollars, and I'm going to let the banks and the processors in the middle handle all of that foreign exchange stuff.
Sure.
Right? It's like, I don't really care, right? And
we've all been to websites where you go to buy something, and it's only in US dollars or British pounds all the time.
Right. And as Canadians, we're like, check the rate on Google. And I mean, there's no spread in that, but you generally get an idea of what you're paying. But that merchant is basically just saying, I'm going to charge US dollars and let it go. Now, while that transaction's happening, there's a bunch of banks in there that are applying foreign exchange, they're applying spreads. Shopper doesn't really know what they're really paying for that. To your example in Canada, you can do a quick search on Google, but it's just going to give you a mid-market rate, which has no spread in it. It's not a buy-sell rate.
A credit card will have line items for, FX fees, and it's always a surprise.
Exactly, right? So although simple for the merchant, you're leaving a lot to sort of out there in the market, right? The last, I would call it 5-6 years, you're just noticing a lot more technology in the space, which allows for multi-currency pricing. And there's some other things that are evolving where that can allow you to obviously localize that cart for the shopper. I mean, as a Canadian, we like to shop in CAD. Right?
Sure. Every time if I get the chance.
Right. So, there's some tools that you can enhance that sort of first purview that I was speaking of, but generally speaking, you're not really involved in foreign exchange. Then there's the other side, which is a little more sophisticated, and that's sort of where my advice would go is get into the foreign exchange, right? And when you get into it, some people view it as possible risk, but from my seat, I view it as opportunity, right? So rather than just doing multi-currency pricing, get multi-currency accounts, right? Mm-hmm. And now you've got the control and flexibility to price your products aggressively if you wish. You can take different approaches of how you price your products in foreign markets. It can be, I'm competing with the incumbent retailer in that country, so I want to make sure that I have control of what's going on so that my product gets purchased before it does from that incumbent. You can go all the way to different hedging strategies. You might have a natural hedge is what we call it. Again, throwing all these crazy terms at you, but
we'll cover those shortly.
Yeah, there's a lot of merchants that might have payables in Europe and you're selling into Europe. Well, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for going from euro to dollar only to buy the euro back to pay your invoice.
Exactly.
Or doing it again in a way that you don't even really know. You're just on, there's so much spread that's lost. We'll get into spread in a minute. So it's, get into it. There's a plethora of options right now to get multi-currency accounts. You can get, digital accounts. You can get virtual accounts, I should say. They're not digital accounts, but virtual accounts where you can get into the mix, right? And then get a processor to settle to you in what we call like for like fashion, and have a little bit more control, right? Now, that's a double-edged sword,
right?
As you can imagine.
So let's delve into that a little bit. Some of the risks, some of the benefits. Let's weigh it out a bit.
Yeah. So now you're in it, and we talked about the benefit of obviously being in control of pricing, et cetera. But now you're opening yourself up to some risk, right? Currencies are always moving.
Yeah, every day.
And there's you could be holding on to, say, like, just to simplify this, you could be selling in Europe as a U.S. merchant. You're aggregating a bunch of euro dollars into an account, right? Into your, like I just mentioned, to your euro account. At some point, you have to trade it back. You have to get your money back to U.S. dollars. You have employees to pay. You have marketing expenses.
Unless you're moving to Nice, you gotta
exactly. Well, you can have a little, wine country fund going, of course, but
that's when business goes really well.
That's right. Yeah. But ultimately, that's got to come back. And the risk that you'd be faced with in that situation is that the euro against the dollar declines, and now you're getting less dollar when it's coming back. So the market's moved against you, to say it a different way. So market's moved against you, and you're not getting as much back from that as you originally anticipated. And that's where hedging strategies come into the mix, right? And basically around that is really around, number one, what's your natural hedge, right? Do you have payables there? What are you going to bring back? What's the timeline to bring that back? And you can start to implement certain strategies. You can book forwards, right? So there's a lot of forwards that are available.
Tell us a little bit more about that, just for those out there who might not be familiar with a forward.
So forward, you can basically book out a foreign exchange contract out for up to 90 days. Some banks will go a little bit further, but it starts to get a little bit risky. But you're basically locking in today's rate for 90 days.
Oh,
so you can,
that's huge.
It is. So
forecasting.
Now remember, foreign exchange is always a double-edged sword, because once you're locked at that rate, well, if the market goes in your favor, well, now your forward rate is under market.
Yeah, you don't get that upside, but you cut your downside.
You cut your downside, exactly. So obviously that's a risk mitigation tool, right? In sort of that capacity is really around I want to know what I'm going to get back, right? And that's a very solid strategy is to book yourself in a forward. We'll get into returns in a minute, but just to continue on the thought of the hedging strategies, really what it comes down to as well is understanding when that trade should happen and understanding that you shouldn't just let it sort of go out to the market and just take your bumps and bruises with the market. That's the worst type of strategy. Now, there are tools available out there where you can actually lock the trade at the point of sale, right?
Right.
Now, again, while you're in control of that FX, you're now removing 3 or 4 spreads through that traditional workflow that I explained, which is kind of just let someone else handle it,
right,
or let the market handle it. If you're in control of the foreign exchange, you can now adopt certain strategies that let you get out of the market a little bit sooner at a much better spread. In foreign exchange, you've got the foreign exchange rate.
Right.
We call that a mid-market rate.
Okay.
Right? And that's
you go to Google, you say like CAD to US, boom, they give you a number.
It's a rate,
okay.
right? Now there's a spread attached to the rate, and the spread is basically profit for the banks that are actually selling you the foreign exchange. So, it's a commodity. So I can buy, let's just keep numbers simple, $1.45. Yep. That's what a Canadian dollar is to a US dollar, right? But that mid-market rate is not available to the general person buying a dress.
No one's going to give you that number you got from Google.
Exactly. So then you attach the spread. And the spread can be anywhere from 10 basis points if you're direct to liquidity providers, which is very difficult to get unless you're in the hundreds of millions, all the way up to, I've seen spreads in the 8-9% range. Now, on average, credit card companies, processors, landing around the 2.5% to 3% range is what's sort of in the foreign exchange world. But that's still 2.5%, 3% between your product and the shopper.
Right. What you're actually paying to that, what you're seeing on Google there, like that's where the profit lives.
Exactly.
In somebody's pocket.
Is in the spread. So by, again, going back to opening up your currency accounts and getting involved in the foreign exchange, now you've got some power to be able to negotiate that spread.
Right. Now you're in the room with the spread.
Bring that down, right? And most importantly, and I don't want to call them out, but there are some alternative payment methods and wallets out there that really take advantage of this. And that's where you start getting into the, we've seen upwards of 5%. Let's just put it that way on a foreign exchange spread, right? So that's a pretty big,
that's huge
increase. If you think if you're in a competitive market with a dress that's, $100, if yours is $105, you're probably not going to get the sale over the $100.
That's our provincial sales tax in Alberta.
There you go.
That's it right there. Boop.
There you go. Right. We kind of jumped around a little bit there, but it's sort of, the foreign exchange, when I get back to the automated sort of process of foreign exchange, you can actually bring that spread down. And then the opportunity that you have is you can start to hedge yourself in a way where if you're watching the markets closely or outsource that to a trader or, Reach has some really great people around this, which is letting you know when sort of there's a downside of the market just based on charts. I mean, everybody buys stocks. So you're never going to catch the bottom. But if you're generally speaking,
you know where you're at in the trend.
Exactly. Then you can start turning it into a revenue center, right? You can start to adopt some strategies that, and again, that revenue center can either be keeping the price of your products lower all the way up to keeping your price the same, but inheriting some more
capturing
profit.
More of that. So was this a strategy, reserved for large enterprise size merchants? Who should be looking out for this?
Yeah. So it used to be very, very difficult to get multi-currency accounts, right? Like it was very difficult up until even 5 years ago. The introduction of virtual accounts and sort of banks being able to open up more, right? It's a little bit more accessible, right, to sort of smaller merchants. But to answer your question, yes, it was generally reserved for a huge company with massive compliance teams that were able to get these multi-currency accounts. You're moving monies across borders.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of compliance that happens in there, right? So it's not as easy as setting up an account and saying, let's do this, right? So there is some complexity around that.
Sure.
But again, there are companies now that are helping with this, right? And there's more accessible tools in the market right now for you to actually jump into this type of scenario.
Right. So it's becoming more available to sort of the SMB, medium-sized businesses, get in there and
they should be. Yeah, go at it. Yeah. Anytime you outsource something, it's going to be more expensive.
Sure. And
if you're blind to it, something's going on, on your products and on your sales. And foreign exchange is one of those things, right? If it's one of those things where if you just let it go and let someone else deal with it, someone else is making money on your money.
Well, they're dealing with it.
Exactly. They sure are. And nothing's free.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about FX in general, a couple of strategies merchants can employ to, get in the conversation with FX. Mm-hmm. Let's take it a little bit further down into the experience of the customer. Mm-hmm. So in a site, obviously I've bought things. I bought a pair of boots recently from the UK. Great boots. I had no idea what they were going to cost. They shipped and I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay.
2X.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, but I bought 2 pair because I didn't know the size and they're coming from the UK. I only want to do this once. So I had to send one back and there was a whole exchange, return in there, and it was a mess. So let's talk about, in your experience, what you've seen as the experience for the customer when they have to deal with businesses that do FX one way versus another.
You're hitting a very big problem in the space right now, and it's definitely a solvable problem, but it's a problem. So, like we were talking about with a spread, there's what's called the buy-sell side of the currency market, right? So the way the currency market works is you've got your mid-market rate, like we talked about, then you've got your buy rate, right? Buyer's rate, and then you've got your seller's rate.
Not the same number.
Not the same number. So the way it works is the seller's rate is the mid-market plus spread. So let's just use 2.5% because that's generally the marketplace.
Okay.
And then you have your buy rate, which is 2.5%. So mid-market minus 2.5%.
Right.
Okay. So the banks will buy that currency from you from bid minus 2.5. They'll sell it for bid mid plus 2.5.
Oh, got it.
Call it bid offer. Is actually buy, sell, bid offer. There's a few ways that you can explain this. In a return, you're on both sides of that transaction.
Oh, yeah. So you would be. You're buying it and selling it right back.
Exactly. So they're not going to bear that cost, right? So basically, again, keeping numbers simple, this isn't a quote, but so you probably bought those pair of boots for mid-market plus 2.5%. That was your Canadian rate versus GBP.
Yep.
When you flip it back to sell it to them or to return it to them, and they go to the market to refund you, they're mid-market minus 2.5. So you're out 5%.
Yeah, straight away.
Right away. That does not include, if you took 2 weeks to return it, any market fluctuation within that. And, if it happened during some sort of a Fed meeting in each of again, back to our pairs, when you watch your pairs closely, if it was interest rate announcements, those are all things that move currency rates.
Sure.
So, and if you're really unlucky, I've seen this, believe me, I think it was when the Swiss franc decoupled from the US dollar. It was about 2016 or something like that. And it tanked something like 23 or 24%.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That was a bad day for a lot of people.
Oh, no.
And a good day for Swiss. But there's so many market forces that can really drive that. So, but at the end of the day, you're stuck with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you're definitely returning, and you're probably out the shipping cost, and you're probably
Well, I'm out the shipping cost, and then, let's say they were $100. They were not $100, but easy numbers. They were $100. I'm not sure I got $100 back.
No, I know you didn't. Just don't look. Yeah. But that's what a lot of people do is just don't look. But when you look, it's pretty annoying. So the solution there is back to the forward, right? So, or some sort of a way to introduce a forward there. So really what you're doing is you're saying guaranteed refunds, right?
Yeah.
So you're basically saying, I'm going to buy this at this rate, and you can return for the same rate, right, out to 90 days.
Right, because you booked that in for 90 days. So any exchange on that, the initial purchase, a refund up to that amount of time later.
Yep.
That's what I'm expecting back.
Exactly. So you have to look at it, and I don't want to get too complicated here though, but the 2.5%, that's kind of like loss to market.
Yep.
If you're in the currency accounts, you're not paying 2.5%. You're probably around 1, maybe even less, depending on your volume. So right out of the gate, your actual spread is lower, right? And then with the forward, now you take out the market fluctuation, right? And you can guarantee the 1% on the way back. There are companies that do this. Reach actually has a product as well that supports this. But basically, it's here's your rate, and you can return on that rate for 90 days at the same thing. So the customer returns at the same rate. Huge value, obviously. Add shoes are a big returned item. So are clothing.
Yep.
Like it's there. It's always there, and it's annoying.
Yeah, people are using their living rooms as the dressing room now. They just wrote it right to their house and say, I like this.
You got it.
Got to go.
You got it. Yeah. So you touched on a pretty big problem there, but there are solutions for it. Now, if you're in the camp of the sort of first camp, going back to what we talked about before, which was just kind of letting other people deal with it.
Yeah, let them take care of it.
Yeah, your shopper's dealing with that. That's a bad experience.
I think that's where that merchant was at with my boots.
Yeah, they don't care.
In this example, I'm the boot company that I just bought the boots from.
Yep.
Obviously, they're letting everybody else handle the FX, and Leo's taking the downside of that.
Yep.
How do they get involved? How do they move from that sort of, let everybody else handle it to getting more involved and, making the conversation more interesting?
Yeah. So step one is you have to make sure that your platform can support merchant. Like obviously, if you're on a custom platform, you can. Like that's straightforward.
Sure.
If you're on another platform like Shopify or WooCommerce or others, Magento, all of those do support multi-currency. So you can get a multi-currency sort of app, or if you will. But ultimately, it's really a treasury play. So it's really you have to, go to a bank that supports multi-currency accounts. Mm-hmm. You start with sort of, I would say, your higher selling regions, right? So, your usual suspects, Euro, Australia, Pound.
Yeah, major markets.
CAD. Yeah, and you just get the bank accounts there, right? And now you tie the sort of, a multi-currency solution to those bank accounts. And then it becomes a treasury play. And this is where kind of the caution comes in, right? So, okay. You open up your accounts and you start loading them up and you're like, oh, now I got to trade them back. Well, pay attention because, again, you need some hedging strategies within there and you need to sort of figure that out. You also have to talk to your processor to ensure that they'll do like-for-like processing, right? So, because most processors they would prefer, they
like the FX. They like that spread too.
They like to sell to you in a different currency because, again, you're giving them the spread, right? But most processors right now, all the modern ones, will be supporting what's called like-for-like processing. And there is quite a bit to this. You don't sort of, say, okay, Tuesday I'm going to be in
just open up all my bank accounts in the 5 major markets and we're selling by Thursday. Let's go.
It's it takes a minute to get there, and there are some things that you really need to pay attention to, like around that. And obviously just making sure that all of your vendors and support can support this type of volume. It's also how much sales are you really doing in global markets, right? This does not make sense if you don't have a lot of sales in global markets. You don't really there's a cost, there's a risk, there's a lift to doing all of this, and there's a sort of a breaking point where it makes sense, right? And
significant barrier of entry. So, have some volume.
You need the volume, yeah. Or, if you're growing into it, nothing's stopping you from sort of, growing the volume first under a sort of, let someone else deal with it model. And then,
sure, there's some overhead for managing that strategy internally as any other business strategy.
Yeah, there's different ways that you can. The barrier to entry is a little bit higher if you want to handle everything yourself, but you can still outsource certain components. Like,
so I imagine you still have to have the bank accounts as a business.
You still have to have the bank account. Well. Yes.
Always the nuance.
The golden ticket here is working with a merchant of record that has the bank accounts on your behalf.
Right. So you can go all in.
Yeah. So getting involved in foreign exchange through a merchant of record really alleviates a lot of the burden and barrier to entry, because the merchant of record, like a Reach, we've already set all that up.
Right. So you can get into the game, take advantage of, FX and the money left behind on the table if you're just farming it out, but not have to go in and develop an entire FX strategy internally.
You got it. Yeah, there is a middle ground here, and it's through someone like Reach. The 1-2 punch here is local acquiring and FX, right? If we're getting to the meat and potatoes of what this is if you've got, again, you're localizing foreign exchange, it doesn't make sense not to localize your processing. You want to localize them both, right?
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. So if you've localized your operations, right? Again, either through yourself or through a merchant of record that already has it, but you can, when you match your localized sort of shopping experience, it's foreign exchange and processing, right? So again, you can do it on your own, or you can outsource it to a merchant of record. Can you get too big for that? We can work with Fortune 500 companies, really, because it really comes down to what piece are you going to be using? Are you using the local acquiring piece? Are you using just the FX piece? Are you using just automated FX API? And these are all tools that are all available out there in the marketplace. So it really comes down to the business, right? Do I have enough bandwidth to handle this all on my own? I don't want to outsource anything, right? Or I'm so small that I don't really care and I just want to let someone else deal with it and just give me my US dollars at the end of the day.
Just
and
want to
I'll
sell my
move on.
boots.
And everything in the middle, right? And it's just, there's a lot of things you can, us being sort of finding an agnostic kind of type of supplier where you can pick and choose the portions that you want to outsource and the portions that you want to be involved in. Those are all available.
Right. And I suppose if you're large enough, you could handle the entire thing inside, and it's just a lot of work to do.
So, once you're in control of it and you've got a really strong handle on what's important to you and how you're going to use FX, it opens up a lot of opportunity. And it really comes down to, what are you trying to do, right? Are you trying to minimize the risk coming back to your company from foreign exchange, maximize profitability from foreign exchange coming back to your company from foreign exchange? Or are you trying to keep your products as cheap and cost effective as humanly possible in foreign markets using foreign exchange? So, and you could solve all of them, but there's 3 different strategies, right? And it's like, okay, if I'm going to use FX I want my product in the UK to be the cheapest product in the UK, and I'm going to try and use FX to do that. Well, you can go to multiple providers and get the lowest FX spread, like we're talking about spread. You can use a direct FX API that sends in a lowest spread rate in real time at the point of sale. You lock the spread, you get out of the market. That's the cheapest way you can do it, right? That's one way. That's a strategy that can be adopted by, again, your main driver there is low cost, high sales, right?
That's one.
Exactly. You can absolutely use FX to do that. Then there's marketing techniques, right? And who likes paying shipping?
Nope.
Who likes paying duties and taxes?
Not me.
Nobody. So there's a marketing tactic where you could use foreign exchange to actually, I don't want to say bury, but you can hide those costs. Offset.
Yeah.
Well, not offset. You're hiding those costs, because basically, let's just look at that from a practical example. You have a product that's $100 plus $10 shipping plus $7 tax.
Right.
So it's $117. Okay. You can take your foreign exchange rate and mark it up by 17% and say free shipping, no tax.
Ah, there's your 17%. Got it. No shipping, right? No tax.
Beautiful. Right. So that's a marketing strategy that you can use, right? And it used to work a little bit more than before, because I think people are sort of caught on to free shipping these days. But yeah, you can use foreign exchange, and that comes down to pricing strategies. And pricing strategies, you can just, price your product whatever you want. But when you're not in control of foreign exchange, you're not in control of a very important aspect of that pricing, of how you're pricing. So working with foreign exchange to manipulate the cost in your cart to drive your strategy is very important.
Okay.
Right? Otherwise, you're missing a very important piece to the entire puzzle.
Excellent.
So the third would be minimizing risk. And really, when it comes down to minimizing risk, is using an FX API to lock the trade at the point of sale. So basically, the faster you get out of a trade in foreign exchange, the less risk you're exposed to.
Right. You get a rate, you see it, you trade it, you're done, boom.
Exactly. And airlines were good examples of this. They had flights that were constantly changing through algorithms, etc. And then you had a foreign exchange that was also moving. So you have too much variables in there that are constantly moving. So really, airlines, they want to get in and out of the foreign exchange market at the point of sale. Right. Lock my ticket, lock my foreign exchange. I'd like to just lock my profits. That's minimizing risk to the fullest extent. Right. Okay. And there are FX APIs available in the space, but it has to be in combination with the bank accounts, with the treasury. Like, it's not just use this FX API and you're off to the races.
It's a strategy.
It's a strategy. And it's all, you'd have to work with someone that has all of the components sort of ready for you, or you have to go build out all the components.
Right. So we've talked about FX strategies can be simple, likely complicated. How can a company like Reach help?
So, this is our bread and butter. This is what we've done. We've mixed the best possible localization services all through one platform, right? So it's basically, we've gone out, we've gotten all the bank accounts, right? So we have 13 currencies that are supported by the card networks in a like-for-like fashion. We've also got strategies in outside of the 13 main currencies, but we've got live bank accounts ready to go. They're also attached to our entities as merchant of record. So you get the benefit of MOR, merchant of record, through our entities. Then we bolt onto our FX API. So now we're able to feed in the FX. It's all in one. Our automated treasury API will give you hedging strategies, pricing control. It gives you absolutely everything that you need to succeed and use at your discretion. You can use a piece of our API. You can use all of our API.
But composable.
Exactly. But when you mix them together, right, and then you throw in sort of fraud and everything else that the Reach platform does, you've sort of taken all of that complexity and turned it into a very powerful tool for you to take advantage of everything that the global market has to offer while mitigating your risk.
I like that. Get into the game. Thanks, everybody, again for another excellent episode of Business Over Borders. We look forward to seeing you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're interested in seeing what we got coming next, hit that little bell. We'll let you know when our next episode comes out. Thanks.
Brought to you by the Reach Network. Visit withreach.com/network for more.